Some breaking news: a tourist submarine exploring the wreckage of the Titanic in the Atlantic Ocean has disappeared, with authorities currently searching for 5 individuals who were on board at the time it went missing. One of them who was a famous explorer. According to the Boston Coast Guard, a search was underway as of Monday for the submarine that vanished while it was taking passengers on a pricey tour of the Titanic wreck, which is situated at the bottom of the ocean floor off the coast of Newfoundland, Canada, approximately 12,500 feet underwater. The submarine was operated by a private company called Ocean Gate Expeditions, which charges tourists as much as $250,000 for a trip to view the infamous shipwreck. Representative from the company confirmed that the submarine is missing and said that it contained 2 passengers and 3 crew members at the time of its disappearance. The Titanic trip package offered by the company spanned 8 days, with dives down to the wreckage at times reaching 10 hours in length. It is said that government agencies and deep sea firms are helping with the operation. It is a truck-sized sub that holds 5 people and usually dives with a 4-day supply of oxygen. They said their entire focus is on the crew members in the submersible and their families. Other than that, I will keep you guys updated with any information, and please pray that we find them. A little update in the submersible that has gone missing during a Titanic tour. Here's the Rear Admiral of the Coast Guard speaking about the search efforts to find this submersible. Take a listen and let me know your guys' thoughts.
So after receiving the call, we reached out to the vessel Polar Prince and began a surface search looking for the submersible. At the same time, we launched a C-130 aircraft to conduct an aerial search, both visual and radar, of the scene. We've subsequently coordinated with the Canadian Coast Guard and Canadian Armed Forces to deploy additional assets to the scene. The Canadians have had a C-130 aircraft searching as well, in addition to also having a P-8 submarine search aircraft deploy as well, and put sonar buoys in the water in attempt to listen. The location of the search is approximately 900 miles east of Cape Cod, in a water depth of roughly 13,000 feet. It is a remote area, and it is a challenge to conduct a search in that remote area, but we are deploying all available assets to make sure that we can locate the craft and rescue the people on board. Going into this evening, we will continue to fly aircraft and move additional vessels into the area. In this remote part of our search and rescue responsibility, oftentimes we rely on commercial operators to be the first vessels on scene, and so we've been in touch with additional commercial vessels that are operating in the area, as well as initiating the movement of additional Canadian Coast Guard assets and U.S. Coast Guard surface asset into the area over the course of the next couple of days. Adding to the complexity of this case is the fact that this was a submersible vessel, and so we need to make sure that we're looking both on the surface for the vessel if it had surfaced back to the water, but had somehow lost communications with the vessel, and that's what the aircraft and the surface search vessel is allowing us to do right now. But we're also having to search in the water column, and we're doing that right now with the use of sonar buoys and sonar on the ship that's out there to listen for any sounds that we can detect in the water column. Over the course of the next couple of days, we anticipate adding additional capability to conduct additional search in the water as those commercial assets arrive on scene. Again, our thoughts are with the families and the crew members on board the submersible, and we're working very closely with all U.S. and international partners to provide any capability that we can provide to search for the overdue vessel and rescue the crew members on board.
So I'm gonna give you a breakdown of the press conference because I know it's difficult to understand. And then I'm gonna show you guys what the inside of the Titan looks like. So the crew launched around 4 a.m. yesterday but lost communication with the mothership a short while afterward. According to OceanGate website, the sub can last for up to 96 hours underwater with 5 people consuming oxygen. The Rear Admiral of the Coast Guard said it may have become stuck in the wreckage and said that Coast Guard does not have the capabilities to reach it if that is the case. They said we don't have the equipment on site that can do a survey of the bottom. There is a lot of debris, so locating it will be difficult. They said we don't have the capabilities at this time. So if it's entangled, stuck somehow down there and there's no way of getting up, it's not looking good. It is said that one of the people on there is UK billionaire Hamish Harding. He posted on Twitter right before he entered. But I'm going to show you guys what it looks like in the submersible. It's very small. Other than that, I will keep you guys updated.
So we're coming into the sub. This is the only toilet available on a deep diving submersible. Best seat in the house. You can look out the viewport. We put a privacy screen in, turn up the music, and it's very popular. We have our control screen here, our sonar screen here, and we can put any image we want in the back. We've taken a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back. Turn left, turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board just in case.
So just a small update. A Titanic expedition leader speaks out saying more people have been to outer space than the depth that the Titanic is at and where the submarine is missing. He says the Navy at this very moment cannot do anything and things are not looking good. Take a listen, and as always, I will keep you guys updated with any new information.
G. Michael Harris is a Titanic expedition leader and founder of RMS Titanic Inc. All right, so G, you know people that are trapped on this thing?
Yes, unconfirmed reports that there are 3 people on there out of the 5 that one of them used to be one of my sub-pilots, and it's just a sad day for our industry.
I'm so sorry to hear that. The oxygen situation, is there any way to remedy that?
No, we carry O2 bottles with us in the submersible, and you also have CO2 scrubbers, and you know the O2 will last longer than your CO2 scrubbers, and if those CO2 scrubbers go, and depending on what actually happened at depth, just not feeling good about it.
All right. What's this thing like to be inside of, and what exactly are you doing when you're going down to the Titanic wreck site?
Well, when we deploy, it's usually a 2.5-hour drop down to the wreck site itself. We go down 3,980 meters, and we spiral down a corkscrew action about 3 degrees per second to land right basically in front of the bow of Titanic. Once we get down there, then we begin our grid searches and our research on, you know, the decay and everything that's going on with Titanic.
What could possibly have happened?
Worst situation is, you know, something happened to the hull, and our fear is that, you know, it imploded at around 3,200 meters.
And is there anything that the U.S. Navy can do right now?
No. I mean, I don't see anything that can happen at this point. I mean, I'm trying to be, you know, somewhat cautious and, you know, don't want to basically be the naysayer of what's going on. But when you're talking 6,000 pounds per square inch, it is a dangerous environment. More people have been to outer space than to this depth of the ocean. And when you're diving in these situations, you have to cross your T's, dot your I's. You have to do everything absolutely perfect and by the book. And, you know, throw in a bunch of tourists in a new sub that, you know, was just created over the last several years. It's not looking good, Jesse.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, I'm just laying down, but I want you to see this video. It's a retired Navy captain who was a captain on a submarine. He speaks out about what it's like to be on a submarine and what's the likelihood of finding them. and just pretty much his thoughts on everything. I pray for a miracle that they float back to the surface or they are found alive. Take a listen to the video and let me know your guys' thoughts. And as always, I will keep you guys updated with any new information.
With me now is David Marquet. He is a retired U.S. Navy captain, former commander of the nuclear submarine USS Santa Fe. Captain, thank you for doing this. We're in breaking news mode, so I would like to get your take and your expertise on the circumstances that we know to exist at this time. What can you weigh in with in terms of just what we're looking at in terms of the dire circumstances?
Well, when the Admiral said it's a remote place, he was sort of, I think, underplaying it. Remote means, imagine it's on the far side of the moon. That's basically as remote as it gets. Because when you go 2 miles deep, even if we could find them, which is questionable, we got to get to them. And only a very few number of ships can get out there. So they need to get to the East Coast of the United States or Canada and then transit out, which is going to take a couple of days. You can see from your chart there, it's about 400 miles. These ships typically don't go all that fast. And so it's going to take a day, day and a half to get out there. And then they got to somehow get a hook onto this thing with a cable that's 2 miles long and draw the thing up. So I am fearful for the people in the submarine.
Captain, David Pogue, who's the correspondent for CBS who rode in that submersible last year, talked about the 7 different methods of safety ballast, things that you can jettison, ways to get, in common parlance, the submersible back up to the surface. If the team was able to do that, and now it's just a communication issue, they just can't communicate with their headquarters, how difficult will it be to find a minivan-sized unit amidst the vast ocean that is above the Titanic?
I think the Coast Guard could find them. I mean, both the Coast Guard and the Canadian send airplanes. These airplanes go back and forth. They can look. Now, it's dark now, but before they could look visually. They have radars they can scan. I mean, we have airplanes. One of the Canadian planes specifically designed to find submarines. And you can see that little thing that's sticking up on top of the mini sub. And if that thing's sticking up, their radars will find it. And yeah, the ocean is vast, but we know where they were going. They were going to the Titanic, and the circle does get bigger with time. But if they're on the surface, I'm pretty confident that with the resources that the Coast Guard and the Canadians deployed, they would be able to find it.
Captain Marquet, I just have one last question, only about 30 seconds left. I get agita talking about submarines that are in distress. I think about the people on board and the panic that they would be in. Can you just tell me, from your extensive experience, what kind of counsel will they be getting from the leadership inside that little tiny minivan-sized submersible?
Yeah, it's your body tries to do all the wrong things. The most precious thing is oxygen. The best thing you can do is meditate and take a nap and slow down your breathing, reduce the amount of activity, physical activity that you're doing. Only do what's necessary, like maybe one person bangs on the hull, the other ones rest. They take turns doing that, but your brain is screaming at you, and you really need to control those emotions.
It takes a certain kind of person who can do that and take the risk to do that as well. Retired Navy Captain David Marquet, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
So today is June 20th, and if you don't know, 5 people are missing on a submersible off the coast of Newfoundland, Canada. And now they only have 48 hours of oxygen left. But that is if they conserve that oxygen. If they are breathing rapidly, that oxygen will lower. But here's the thing. We know that the submersible is controlled by a PlayStation controller. And not just that, they don't have a GPS on board. The ship above sends messages to the submersible, and the submersible sends messages back, and that's how they triangulate their location. And since there's no communications, there's no way that the submersible can find its way around the ocean. So that means they're lost. We don't know if the power is out because they say there are 6 or 7 ways of emergency protocols, one of them being airbags, but you do need power to blow them up. They pretty much say you need power for all the emergency protocols, but their hopes are they just lost communication and they're somewhere in the surface of the ocean. The military says they don't have anything capable of going to that depth. They even said their rescue subs for their submarine warships cannot go to that depth. They even said if they use a claw to grab the submersible, it's like finding a spoon at the bottom of the ocean. However, that's not going to stop them. Search and rescues are still in play. And this was not the first time that the submersible has lost communications with the ship above.
Sixth day at sea, the weather cleared. The dive was a go, but that was the last of the good news.
And I said, do you know where we are? 100 meters to the bow, then 470 to the bow. If you are lost, so are we.
There's no GPS underwater, so the surface ship is supposed to guide the sub to the shipwreck by sending text messages. But on this dive, communications somehow broke down. The sub never found the wreck.
We were lost. We were lost for 2.5 hours.
Again, if there's any breaking news in this case, you guys will hear it here first. Other than that, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments, and let's pray for a miracle. So I just want to show you guys how far down the Titanic is, where the submersible might be located. When I tell you they are way down there, they are way down there. Again, they have no GPS on the sub. The only way to find their location is the ship above. They receive text messages from the submersible, and that's how they just triangulate their location to find the Titanic. This is a very, very scary situation. Everyone is hoping and praying that they are alive and just on the surface of the ocean somewhere. But let me know what you guys think about this animation. So the small update with the submersible that went missing with the 5 aboard, it is said that a pipe-laying vessel is at the scene where the tourists went missing. The ship has 2 remote control underwater vessels capable of searching for the OceanGate Titan. The company is the Deep Energy. It carries 2 remotely operated vehicles which can dive to 3,000 meters. Their unnamed submersibles operate from the control room on the mothership and are tethered with 1,000-meter long cables. I am just hoping that the submersible is down there near the Titanic, because if they did lose communication, that means they lost their tracking and they could be anywhere underneath that ocean. So if they are stuck on something, that means they're stable in that location. And if these remote operated vehicles go down to their depths, maybe it'll be easier for them to find them if they are at a steady location instead of wandering the depths of the ocean. Because remember, they don't have a GPS. It's all done on the ship above the ocean. So they're going blind if they are not stuck on something. That means they're just traveling in the dark. We are all hoping for a rescue. I think this is an anxiety wait for anybody, especially the families. And I know they're doing a press conference at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And as always, I will keep you guys updated. But other than that, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments.
This man allegedly sexually assaulted his own daughter and murdered his own son, and he is literally getting away with it. Hello, true crimers. This is the case of the Solomon family. This is just my concise recap of the case. Click the comment if you want to see a longer version. But there is a time crunch to this story. Grant and Gracie Solomon were born to Angie and Aaron Solomon. They lived in the Franklin, Tennessee area. Aaron Solomon was a former news anchor in Nashville, Tennessee. Aaron's also a piece of crap. He emotionally, physically, and sexually abused all 3 members of his family. Domestic abuse calls were made to the house often. In 2013, Aaron and Angie were going through a divorce. But Aaron here, he decided to basically kidnap both kids and take them across state lines to North Carolina. When he did that, when Gracie was about 11 years old, he sexually assaulted her in their hotel room. She has proof there was a sexual assault kit, but the authorities are doing nothing about it. Both kids attended Grace Christian Academy School. It's part of Grace Christian Church there in Tennessee. Both of them tried telling the school about the abuse, but the school was like, no, we're going to ignore it. And the church ignored it too. So Grant's plan, when he turned 18, he was going to go to the authorities and tell them everything. It's believed he told his father Aaron that he was planning to do that. On July 20th, 2020, Aaron Solomon calls police to say that his son is pinned underneath a truck. The truck had somehow rolled down this hill and dragged Grant down the hill with him. When he called 911, he said there were 3 people there helping him, but when EMS arrived, there were no 3 people there. And all the witnesses said those 3 people were never there. So Aaron lied. The only significant injuries that Grant had to his body were to the back of his head where he had blunt force trauma. There was a bloody rock next to the truck. His glasses were placed neatly on the grass. The truck was piping hot because they had just driven an hour, but there were no burn marks, no drag marks to Grant's body, no grass stains on the clothing. His body was also in the opposite direction that it should have been. Aaron said he was pinned underneath the truck, but he wasn't. He was just lying in between the front tires. Even an untrained person can say, yeah, this was a staged scene. This was probably a murder. Franklin PD, however, no, it was an accident, we believe Aaron. Aaron refused an autopsy. He refused to let the truck be forensically analyzed. He then sold the truck. And basically now he's on the run. No one really knows where he is. However, Grace Christian Church and the political higher-ups in Tennessee, they are protecting Aaron. They won't arrest him. They won't prosecute him. Despite Gracie going on YouTube and giving a very detailed account of her assault. The statute of limitations on her sexual assault is up this August of 2023. And it's believed that the authorities in Tennessee are just going to let that roll on by. So Gracie won't get justice. We can't let that happen. There's no statute of limitations on murder, however. These people can help open an investigation. We need Grant and Gracie's story to go viral because they're letting a man get away with sexual assault and murder. That cannot happen.
Federal authorities just exposed a black market human body parts ring, and so far 7 people have been indicted on numerous charges. And one of those people at the top was Cedric Lodge, the manager of Harvard Medical School's morgue since the 90s. He allegedly stole parts from donated cadavers before they could be cremated and then sold them for a bunch of money. His wife has been indicted as well, and they allegedly took some of those parts home before shipping them out to buyers in other states. Lodge is also accused of letting some buyers into the morgue so they could pick out which parts they wanted. One of those alleged buyers is Katrina McLean. She owns a store called Cat's Creepy Creations. In October of 2020, she bought 2 dissected faces from Harvard's morgue for $600. And from 2018 to 2020, she transferred over $37,000 to Cedric Lodge. Earlier this month, Candace Scott of Little Rock, Arkansas was indicted on similar charges. Candace worked for a mortuary and her job was to transport, cremate, and embalm remains. Instead of cremating all the remains, she was allegedly selling some of them. In October of 2021, she approached Jeremy Pauley in an Oddities Facebook group. In her first message, she wrote, quote, "Just out of curiosity, would you know anyone in the market for a fully intact embalmed brain?" Over the next 9 months, she sold Pauley fetuses, brains, hearts, lungs, genitalia, large pieces of skin, and other body parts. And she collected nearly $11,000 in PayPal transfers. At one point, she allegedly stole the corpses of 2 stillborn babies that were supposed to be cremated and returned to their families.
Do you wanna hold me? Come closer. I want you, oh lady. I know you're gonna never love me. Oh, your touch feels like in the 80s.
What? What's wrong with you? What? It took my daughter. Parker? Please, let me inside. Parker!